Historically, agriculture was a key component in the identity of the Haudenosaunee, as they lived closely and in harmony with the earth. They relied upon the harvest from a growing season to ensure that everyone in the community was fed. They also knew to only take what they needed and were cautious not to deplete their resources in order to sustain their future generations.
We would build our longhouses and we would build our gardens and we would utilize an area for a certain amount of time. In a lot of ways, it was this way of living with the land that when we knew it was time for an area to rest, we would move.
Mohawks were advanced farmers in many ways, very much ahead of their time. They understood the importance of creating long-term soil fertility, and they knew the nutritional value of corn, beans, and squash, known as the Three Sisters, which when eaten together provide the vitamins necessary to maintain a healthy body.
You know, I think about the Three Sisters, corn, beans, and squash, and how they have this beautiful symbiotic relationship with each other. That the corn can be the infrastructure that the beans grow on, and the squash can cover the ground. And then there's these ways that they put nutrients in the soil to support each other.
Corn was the primary crop, providing more calories or energy per acre. There were even advanced remedies when crops would seem to be struggling in order to ensure long-term sustainability.
And then we planted at the corners, and then what it would do was it would imbue it with more genetic material. And so it would make it less susceptible to disease.
Part of the gardening tradition was that planting and harvest were marked with ceremony and song. These events promoted and preserved the traditional knowledge required to grow crops and ensure that our way of life was passed through the generations.
And I really think about how we learned about these relationships with the plants, with what we were planting, how to plant it appropriately, and then we embedded it in stories that we carry across generations and our intergenerational knowledge that, in a way, we're also reaching into the past by planting this corn, by planting these beans and these squash.
With current anxieties and concerns about the health and sustainability of our Mother Earth, this may be the time to return to the traditional knowledge we have always had.
We're reclaiming that knowledge. We are restoring our relationship with land, and what comes back with that is language, identity, empowerment. That means food security. That means as climate change affects us, that if we stay in connection with the land, that we can shape with the shift that is happening. Our culture is dynamic and adaptive, and it changes across time.
Recent struggles experienced in food security and a growing interest in raised gardens and gardening in general is an opportunity for Haudenosaunee communities to return to an increased self-sufficient lifestyle, which honors the traditions of our ancestors and fortifies generations to come.
We're seeing more youth getting connected with planting gardens and being engaged in agriculture. The faces of future generations are looking up at us from the land. So we have to be careful how we walk on the land. And it's this perpetual consciousness of keeping future generations in mind that we're future ancestors, and that we have to take care of these landscapes so future generations can access it.